Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Deep Dive. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell icon so you never miss an episode. Today we're tackling a topic that's essential for anyone interested in international relations, especially those aspiring diplomats and global citizens gearing up for the UPSC exams. We're diving deep into the world of the OECD, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development.
It might sound a bit intimidating, but trust me, understanding the OECD is like having a secret decoder ring for global affairs.
Exactly. It's like a cheat sheet for understanding how the world economy works, the policies that shape it, and where India fits into the bigger picture. So what exactly is this OECD, and why should we care?
Well, picture this. It's the aftermath of World War II, and Europe is in ruins. The Organization for European Economic Cooperation, or the OEEC, is formed to help rebuild war-torn economies. It was all about pooling resources and coordinating efforts to get Europe back on its feet.
So it started as a kind of European support group.
Precisely. But then in 1961, things got interesting. The US and Canada joined the party, and the OEEC transformed into the OECD. This signaled a major shift from a regional recovery initiative to an organization with a global vision.
So that's when it went from being a regional player to a global powerhouse.
Exactly. And since then, it's evolved into this incredibly influential organization that sets standards, shapes economic policies, and tackles some of the world's most pressing challenges.
Okay, that sounds impressive, but what does that actually look like in practice? Give us an example of how the OECD flexes its muscles on the world stage.
Well, one fascinating example is the OECD's blacklist of uncooperative tax havens. They're not afraid to call out countries that aren't playing by the rules when it comes to financial transparency and fair taxation.
So they're like the financial watchdogs keeping an eye on the global money trail.
That's one way to put it. But their scope goes far beyond just finances. At its core, the OECD is all about improving economic and social well-being worldwide.
So more than just money.
Much more. They're focused on raising living standards, promoting sustainable economic growth, boosting innovation, and generally making the world a better place through smarter policies.
Wow, that's a pretty ambitious agenda. It sounds like they're trying to tackle some pretty complex global issues.
They are, and they do it by bringing together some of the brightest minds from around the world.
So who gets to be a part of this exclusive club?
Well, the majority of OECD members are high-income democratic countries with market-driven economies. Think of countries like the US, Canada, and many European nations. But here's the catch. It's not just a rich country club. It also includes emerging economies like Mexico, Chile, and Turkey. And even the European Commission participates, adding another layer of influence.
Okay, so it's a diverse group, but there's a common thread of economic development and democratic values.
Exactly. Now, this is where it gets particularly interesting for our Indian audience, especially those prepping for the UPSC exams. India isn't a full member of the OECD.
But we've heard a lot about India and the OECD working together. So what's the deal with that?
That's a great point. India holds a unique position as a key partner of the OECD. It's not a member, but it actively collaborates with the organization, participates in dialogues, and contributes to various initiatives.
So it's like having all the benefits of membership without actually being a member.
In many ways, yes. India gets access to a wealth of expertise, global best practices, and a platform to influence global policy discussions, all without the commitments of full membership.
That sounds like a pretty sweet deal. Can you give us a concrete example of this partnership in action?
Absolutely. One fascinating detail is India's vice chairmanship of the OECD's Good Laboratory Practice Working Group. It's a sign of India's growing influence within the organization and its commitment to aligning itself with international standards.
That's pretty impressive. It definitely seems like India is punching above its weight on the global stage.
It is, and this partnership is particularly relevant for anyone interested in international relations. Understanding the dynamics between India and the OECD is crucial for grasping the nuances of global governance and economic development.
I can see why this would be a hot topic for UPSC aspirants. It's all about understanding India's role in a complex and interconnected world.
Precisely. And speaking of complex and interconnected, let's shift our focus to one of the OECD's most well-known and sometimes controversial initiatives, the PISA program.
Ah, yes, PISA, the International Student Assessment Program that's caused quite a stir in the education world.
It certainly has. PISA assesses the skills and knowledge of 15-year-old students in key areas, providing a snapshot of how different education systems around the world are performing.
And India's relationship with PISA has been a bit of a roller coaster ride, hasn't it?
It has indeed. India participated in 2009, then withdrew due to criticism of the test's relevance to the Indian context.
So there were concerns that the questions weren't really testing what Indian students were actually learning.
Exactly. But now India has rejoined PISA with tailored questions designed to be more relevant to the Indian education system.
So they're back in the game, but on their own terms.
That's a great way to put it. And it shows India's commitment to engaging with global standards while ensuring those standards are adapted to its unique context.
This is fascinating stuff. It's like a real-world case study in how global organizations and individual countries can work together even when there are disagreements or different perspectives.
It is, and it highlights the importance of understanding the nuances of these relationships, especially for anyone interested in international relations or pursuing a career in diplomacy.
It's clear that the OECD is a major player on the world stage, and India is strategically positioning itself within this network of influence. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. We've covered a lot of ground already, and there's still so much more to unpack.
There is. We've only just scratched the surface of India's collaboration with the OECD and the impact it has on both sides.
Stay tuned, folks. We'll be right back to delve deeper into the nitty-gritty of this fascinating partnership.
All right, let's dive back into the fascinating world of India and the OECD. We've established that India, while not a member, is a key partner. But what does this collaboration actually look like on the ground? What are the tangible benefits for India?
That's the million-dollar question. It's all well and good to talk about partnerships and collaborations, but what does it really mean for India in practical terms?
Well, think of it this way. The OECD is like a giant think tank with decades of experience in tackling complex economic and social issues. They've got a treasure trove of knowledge and expertise in areas like education, healthcare, environmental policy, and governance.
So it's like having a mentor who's been there, done that, and has all the best practices to share.
That's a great analogy. And the best part is this sharing of knowledge isn't a one-way street. India, with its unique perspective and rapid development, brings valuable insights to the table, enriching the OECD's understanding of global challenges.
So it's a mutually beneficial relationship. India gets access to expertise and best practices, while the OECD gains valuable insights from a rising economic power.
Exactly. And this collaborative spirit really shines when you look at the impact on the ground. For instance, the OECD has been instrumental in helping India strengthen its anti-corruption efforts.
Ooh, now that's a topic that's always in the headlines. Corruption is a major issue that can really hold the country back.
Absolutely. And the OECD has developed these robust frameworks and guidelines for promoting transparency and accountability in governments and businesses.
So they're not just saying, hey, you should be less corrupt. They're actually providing practical tools and strategies to help countries tackle this issue head on.
Exactly. And India, by engaging with these initiatives, can create a cleaner, more transparent system. This not only fosters trust, but also attracts foreign investment and ultimately contributes to a stronger economy.
It's like a domino effect. Tackling corruption leads to a whole cascade of positive outcomes.
Precisely. And another crucial area where this collaboration is making a real difference is in fiscal policy. The OECD provides guidance on things like taxation, public expenditure, and debt management, helping countries like India navigate the complexities of managing their finances responsibly.
This is particularly relevant given India's ambition to become a global economic powerhouse.
You're absolutely right. Sound fiscal policies are the foundation for sustainable growth. They're crucial for attracting investment, creating jobs, and ensuring the well-being of citizens.
So it's about creating a stable and predictable economic environment that fosters growth and prosperity for everyone.
That's the idea. And we can't forget about the environment. The OECD is a leading voice in promoting sustainable development and tackling climate change. India, facing its own environmental challenges, can benefit immensely from the OECD's expertise in green growth strategies, renewable energy, and pollution control.
I'm starting to see a pattern here. It seems like India is strategically tapping into the OECD's knowledge base to address some of its most pressing challenges.
That's a sharp observation. It's about learning from the best and adapting those lessons to fit India's unique context. And this engagement goes beyond just receiving guidance. It's about actively shaping the global conversation.
So give us some concrete examples. How is India making its voice heard within the OECD?
Well, for starters, India is a member of several important OECD bodies, like the Development Center and the Global Forum on Transparency and Exchange of Information for Tax Purposes. These memberships give India a seat at the table, allowing it to participate in shaping global norms and standards.
It's like having a backstage pass to the world's most influential policymaking circles.
And it goes even deeper than that. Indian ministers and officials regularly attend OECD Ministerial Council meetings. That's a clear signal that India is committed to engaging with the organization at the highest level.
So it's not just bureaucrats and technocrats talking shop. It's about high-level political engagement as well.
Precisely. And this engagement extends to a wide range of areas, from corporate governance and steel to taxation, trade, and investment. India's active role in the Global Forum on Steel Excess Capacity is a prime example.
It seems like India is really making its presence felt across the board. It's not just about following the rules. It's about helping to write them.
That's a great way to put it. And this proactive engagement isn't just about staying ahead of the curve. It's about positioning India as a responsible and influential player on the world stage.
Now that's a point worth emphasizing. For our UPSC aspirants, this highlights the importance of understanding the nuances of India's foreign policy and its strategic partnerships.
Absolutely. The relationship between India and the OECD is a textbook example of how a country can leverage international collaborations to advance its own development goals while contributing to global solutions.
This has been incredibly insightful. It's like putting together a puzzle. All these different pieces of information are starting to form a clear picture of India's evolving role in the world.
I'm glad you're finding it helpful. And we're not done yet. There's still so much more to explore, especially in terms of the implications of this partnership for India's future.
All right, we're back and ready to wrap up our deep dive into the fascinating world of India and the OECD. We've explored the history, the goals, the key players, and even India's unique position as a key partner. But now let's get to the heart of the matter. Why should all of this matter to our listeners? What's the takeaway, especially for those aspiring diplomats and global citizens gearing up for the UPSC exams?
That's a great question. It's easy to think of the OECD as this distant, high-level organization, one that has little to do with our everyday lives. But the reality is the OECD's work has a ripple effect that touches almost every aspect of our world.
So it's not just about economic theories and policy wonk talk. It's about real-world impacts.
Precisely. The OECD's influence can be seen in everything from the environmental regulations that protect our planet to the education standards that shape the next generation of leaders.
It's like an invisible hand guiding the forces that shape our world.
That's a great way to put it. And for UPSC aspirants, understanding the OECD is like having a cheat sheet for decoding global affairs. The OECD's reports, statistics, and policy recommendations are gold mines of information for anyone wanting to understand international relations, economics, and development.
So it's not just about cramming facts and figures. It's about developing a deeper understanding of how the world works.
Exactly. And this understanding becomes even more critical when we consider India's rising role on the global stage. As India continues to grow and assert its influence, its relationship with the OECD becomes even more significant.
So what can we expect to see in the future? How do you see this relationship evolving?
Well, I think we can anticipate even deeper engagement and collaboration. India's expertise and experience will be increasingly sought after as the OECD grapples with global challenges like climate change, inequality, and technological disruption.
So it's not just about India learning from the OECD. It's about India becoming a key contributor to global solutions.
Absolutely. We might even see India taking on leadership roles in specific areas, shaping the OECD's agenda and amplifying its voice on the world stage.
That's a powerful image. India stepping into the spotlight, ready to share its knowledge and contribute to shaping a better world.
And for our listeners, whether you're a student, a professional, or simply a globally aware citizen, understanding the OECD is like having a decoder ring for understanding global affairs. It gives you a framework for analyzing trends, evaluating policies, and understanding the interconnectedness of our world.
It's about becoming a more informed and engaged citizen, equipped with the knowledge to navigate the complexities of our interconnected world.
Exactly. So there you have it. The OECD, a powerful force shaping our world, and India, a key player in its evolution.
And that brings us to the end of our deep dive into the OECD. We hope you found it insightful and engaging. Remember, knowledge is power, and understanding the OECD is like adding a powerful tool to your arsenal.
It's been a pleasure exploring this fascinating topic with you.
And as always, thanks for joining us on the deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep pushing the boundaries of your knowledge.